بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، أيها السادة الكرام، مساء الخير. أنا سعادة السنانية، يشرفني ويسعدني أن أقدم لكم في هذا المساء بالنيابة عن السفارة الهندية في مسقط بسلطنة عمان ومركز راجا يوغا للتنمية الذاتية للاحتفال بالذكرى 151 لميلاد المهاتما غاندي واليوم الدولي للأمم المتحدة للا عنف، فأهلا وسهلا. ونحن جميعا هنا في غاية السرور أن نحتفل اليوم بمشاركة السفراء والدبلوماسيين والمسؤولين، فمرحبا بكم.
Good evening, Your Excellencies, dear dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Prakash Chagani, and it's a great pleasure to be your co-host this evening. On behalf of the Embassy of India, Muscat, and Rajyoga Center for Self-Development, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you present here this evening. Especially here to celebrate the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi and the United Nations International Day of Non-Violence. We are delighted to note that today's celebration is joined by many dignitaries, officials, ambassadors, diplomats, and special invitees. We welcome you all this evening.
فليتفضل سعادة سفير الهند شري أميت نارنج بتقديم باقة من الزهور للأخت جيانتي كيربلاني المتحدثة الرئيسية لأمسيتنا لهذا اليوم، والأخت جيوتي منسقة مركز راجا يوجا لدولة الإمارات المتحدة وسلطنة عمان وقطر الشقيقة.
May I now please request His Excellency Shri Amit Narang, Ambassador of India to Oman, to present and welcome a bouquet of flowers to Sister Jayanti, who is the keynote speaker of today's event, who is the additional administration head of the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University, and Sister Jyoti, to Sister Jyoti, who is the director of the Raj Yoga Centers of Oman, UAE, and Qatar.
سنبدأ احتفالنا هذا المساء بإضاءة شموع الأمل، كما ندعو الجميع لأخذ إضاءة الشموع.
We'd like to mark the beginning of our celebration this evening with traditional lighting of candles of Singapore Embassy. Mr. Mercia Chitrik, who is the chargé d'affaires for the Embassy of Romania. Mr. Gantosari, who is the Minister Counselor who will represent Embassy of Indonesia. Ms. Rosafuddin Razi Vardaraju, who is the Counselor, will represent the Embassy of Malaysia. I'd like to request all of you to please come on stage. Along with them, I also like to invite Madhya al-Shihabi, Bushra al-Subhi, Yahya Rahi, who's the chairman of Dawoon.
نطلب من الجميع الوقوف لحظة صمت وللمساهمة في تحقيق السلام.
We'd like to invite everybody to stand up and to contribute silence for a few moments for world peace. Request everyone to join by standing up in silence, to contribute in peace. Thank you.
شكرا لكم سعادة السفير والضيوف الكرام، فليتفضل الجميع بالعودة إلى أماكنهم مشكورين.
We'd like to request the dignitaries to please take their seats. We will now listen to the United Nations message for the International Day of Non-Violence.
والآن سوف ننصت إلى رسالة الأمم المتحدة إلى هذا اليوم من قبل ممثلها.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to read out the Secretary General's message for the International Day of Non-Violence, 2nd October 2022. The International Day of Non-Violence celebrates not only Mahatma Gandhi's birthday, but the values he embodied that echo across the decades: peace, mutual respect, and the essential dignity shared by every person. Sadly, our world is not living up to those values. We see this through growing conflicts and climate chaos, poverty, hunger, and deepening inequalities, prejudice, racism, and rising hate speech, and a morally bankrupt global financial system that entrenches poverty and stymies recovery for developing countries. We can defeat these challenges by embracing Gandhi's values and working across cultures and borders to build a better, more peaceful future for all. By investing in people's health, education, decent jobs, and social protection to prevent people from falling and catch them when they do. By ensuring access to financing and debt relief for all countries. By supporting developing countries as they build resilient infrastructure and protect populations from the impact of climate change, while also accelerating the transition from planet-killing fossil fuels to renewable energy. By securing and upholding the rights and dignity of all people, especially the most vulnerable, the girls and women who are too often denied their basic rights. By taking concrete action for inclusion, recognizing multicultural, multi-religious, and multi-ethnic societies as a richness, not a threat. Gandhi's life and example reveal a timeless pathway to a more peaceful and tolerant world. Let us walk this path together in solidarity as one human family. Thank you.
والآن ندعوكم إلى الاستماع إلى الأخت جوتي مديرة مركز راجا يوغا، فلتتفضل لإلقاء كلمتها مشكورة.
We'd like to now welcome Sister Jyoti, who's the director of the Raj Yoga centers in Oman, UAE, and Qatar, has been relentlessly serving humanity for over 50 years now. Her services have spanned every continent of the world. She is the epitome of love and humility. We'd like to now invite her for her address.
Good evening. Om Shanti. Greeting of peace and love to everyone. On this auspicious day of non-violence, I would like to extend my greetings to the dignitaries and everyone else present here. The world is making very good progress in trying to make our lives better in every possible way. And I am very happy for that. I believe equal importance must be given to reducing the amount of violence that our world is facing. At one level, we are seeing countries at war with one another, and at another level, we see violence happening in our homes and societies. Whatever the level of violence, we know that it takes away our peace of mind and even threatens our existence. Not to mention about the huge financial burden this is causing to every country. By choosing nonviolence, we are assured of a safer, happier, and more peaceful world. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, we must be the change we wish to see. Every war beings first in the mind. So if we wish to make the world peaceful, we must first make our minds peaceful. When we meditate every day, we take charge of the mind, keep it calm, and sow seed of peace, love, and happiness. With this note, I welcome everyone to visit the Raj Yoga Center so we can all do our part in supporting nonviolence. Thank you.
شكرا للأخت. هو سفير الهند لدى سلطنة عمان، تولى مهام منصبه في 24 أكتوبر 2021. سعادة السفير شري أميد نارانج، فليتفضل لإلقاء كلمته مشكورا.
His Excellency Amit Narang assumed charge as Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman on October 24th, 2021. Prior to this appointment, Ambassador Narang headed the Indian Ocean Region, that IOR, division of India's Ministry of External Affairs, the MEA, handling India's bilateral relationships with its key maritime neighbors. Ambassador Narang has an advanced diploma in Chinese language and has served twice in the People's Republic of China as the deputy head of mission in Embassy of India in Beijing. Ambassador Narang has a rich experience in multilateral diplomacy. He was India's lead negotiator at the United Nations for the Sustainable Development Goals. Ambassador Narang was also closely associated with the adoption of the landmark UN resolution designating June 21st as the International Yoga Day. He is a member of the Indian Foreign Service since 2001. His interests include photography, birdwatching, sports, and a love for languages, history, and culture. I would now request His Excellency to give us his address.
When a young barrister called Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was thrown out of a train in St. Petersburg in South Africa because he was not white, and when he faced discrimination or indeed violence in his life, violence of colonialism, of discrimination, of hatred, he did not pick up a gun, he did not throw a stone, he did not pick up a stick to fight. He used non-violence and shook the very foundations of the mighty British Empire all over the world. Sister Jayanti, Sister Jyoti, other dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to attend this event commemorating the International Day of Nonviolence. as also the birth anniversary of the great Mahatma. I'm very pleased to associate the Embassy of India with the Raj Yoga Center. I understand this program now in Muscat is in this 25th year. So my congratulations to Raj Yoga. And what better way to commemorate and celebrate the memory of Mahatma Gandhi than to remember his ideal of non-violence. I don't wish to preach too much. It is something that all of us know, and you will be hearing shortly from Sister Jayanti. I just wish to perhaps recall two facets of non-violence. The first, of course, is, as Mahatma himself said, non-violence is not for the weak. We often assume that if you are non-violent, if you are not equally violent with the person who is perpetrating violence on you, you are weak. But actually the Mahatma said that the non-violence is a weapon of the brave. You need to be extremely courageous, not just of bodily courage, physical courage, but more importantly, mental and moral courage to take a stand of non-violence when violence is being perpetrated on you. It is important, therefore, to remember that as we commemorate non-violence today, we celebrate the attribute of moral courage that all of us need to inculcate in our lives in every facet that we face. And that brings me to my second point. Violence is not just about the traditional way in which we assume violence, war, conflict, destabilized societies, riots. That's not the only violence we are talking about here. We are talking about violence to the society, which is ingrained sometimes in some of our traditions. The Mahatma, those who know his story will recall, fought a lifelong battle to reform some of those traditions, because that is also violence. It's also violence of the imagination. Sometimes you are constrained by what you are told, but when you break free, that is also a form of non-violence. Violence also against the environment. Today we talk about climate change, we talk about sustainability, we talk about what we are doing to the earth. That is violence. And when we talk about non-violence, we also talk about not being violent to the environment that nurtures us, to the society that feeds us, to the earth that holds us and provides everything for us. So non-violence indeed has a much wider and much deeper connotation than just a political or a physical one. And I'd urge everyone to remember these attributes of non-violence when we recall the Mahatma and his great message. I once again wish this event great success, and I have no doubt that the contribution of Raj Yoga Center in Oman, in Muscat, the ideals of harmony, peace, and love will spread much wider. I was privileged to be associated with the opening of the Raj Yoga's new center in Muscat this morning, a great event, and I wish them and their endeavors much success. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
شكرا لكم سعادة السفير. والآن سوف نشاهد معا مسرحية دبلات بابو يقدمها طلاب مدرسة الهندية في مسقط.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It was wonderful to know that it really takes a lot of courage to be non-violent. Fantastic. It really makes it sound very powerful. We now have a very interesting tableau by the students of Indian School, Muscat. It has taken 30 students and 6 teachers of the Indian School in Muscat in creating for us this wonderful tableau. It's based on the life of Mahatma Gandhi, and it's titled The Ballad of Bapu. I'd just like to name a few people who were responsible or involved with this, the teachers to start with. Miss Bharti, Miss Pratibha, Miss Maithili, Miss Padma, Mr. Vijayan, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Manikandan, and Mr. Thampi. And this has been coordinated by Mr. Avinash Mathur. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for this beautiful play.
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the illustrious son of Mother India, fondly reckoned as Bapu, is considered as the Messiah, preaching us the principle of universal love and peace. Born in the city of Porbandar in Gujarat in the year 1869, Gandhiji commenced his career as an attorney in South Africa. His refusal to agree to racial separatism in the South African railway carriage was the first manifestation of Gandhian Satyagraha.
How dare you? Are you not aware of the laws of the land? Why are you traveling in this compartment?
But I have a rightful ticket, sir.
Nay, colored races are not allowed to travel in the same carriage with the white people.
बापू की बातों का है केवल इतना सार, बापू की बातों का है केवल इतना सार। चलो सच की राह पे तो तुम आप ही लग जाओगे पार, चलो सच की राह पे तो तुम आप ही लग जाओगे पार। हो दुश्मन सामने तो ना करना कोई वार, हर एक बड़ी मुश्किल का भी देखो हल है प्यार। चलो प्यार की राह पे तो तुम आप ही लग जाओगे पार, चलो प्यार की राह पे तो तुम आप ही लग जाओगे पार। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम, सीताराम सीताराम, भज प्यारे तो सीताराम।
Mohandas stepped on the Indian soil in the year 1950. He toured over the land and in 1917 took up the cause of the indigo cultivators of Champaran who refused to grow indigo. The other initial Satyagraha movements followed were to support the cause of the peasants of Khera and the mill workers of Ahmedabad.
The year 1919 witnessed a nationwide protest against the Rowlatt Act. Gandhiji gave the call for protest and initiated the Rowlatt Satyagraha, the peaceful protest against the Black Act at Jallianwala Bagh resulted in the shocking massacre of innocent lives.
Disheartened Gandhi gave the clarion call for the non-cooperation movement. This political upheaval was organized by Gandhi to revoke their cooperation from the British Raj, aiming at self-governance, but definitely on non-violent lines.
माटी पुकारे तुझे, देश पुकारे, आजा रे अब आजा रे, भूले हम राह हमें राह दिखा दे, आजा रे राह दिखा दे। ऐनक पहने लाठी पकड़े चलते थे वो शान से, जालिम कांपे थर 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 सुनकर उनका नाम रे। हो कद था उनका छोटा सा और सरपट उनकी चाल रे, दुबले से पतले से थे वो चलते सीना तान के। वंदे मातरम, 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 वंदे मातरम।
Sabarmati Ashram, also known as Harijan's Ashram, was the home to Gandhiji. His efforts to bring about equality amongst human beings and teaching people the worth of self-reliance began from here.
The People's Mahatma now called for a pan-India movement of civil disobedience on March 1930. It began with the Salt March to the coast of Dandi to protest against the British monopoly of salt.
करेंगे या मरेंगे, करेंगे या मरेंगे, करेंगे या मरेंगे।
In the year August 1942, Bapu launched the Quit India movement, also known as August Kranti or Bharat Chodo Andolan. However, he wanted the people to adhere to the non-violent paths of Swadeshi and boycott, which is use of everything Indian and boycott of everything British.
The golden values of ahimsa, love, peace, equality, endurance, taught by our dear Bapu, rightly earned him the epithet of the father of the nation. Every year, 2nd October, his birthday is commemorated as the International Day of Non-Violence.
شكرا لطلاب المدرسة الهندية. الأخت جانتي كيربلاني هي المسؤولة الإقليمية للجامعة براهما كوماري روحانية لمنطقة أوروبا والشرق الأوسط والرئيسة الإضافية للجامعة وممثلتها الغير الحكومية لدى منظمة الأمم المتحدة في جنيف، فلتتفضل مشكورة لإلقاء كلمتها.
We now proceed to the eagerly awaited keynote address by our special guest, B.K. Jayanti Kriplani, fondly known as Sister Jayanti, who is the additional administration head of the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University and is also its NGO representative to the United Nations, Geneva. She has participated in UN conferences and projects connected to the environment and climate change, women development, youth, and other major international projects for the United Nations. The Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University is a global organization that works towards creating peace in the world through the practice of meditation and self-development. Sister Jayanti has dedicated her life to the study of human consciousness and has been an emissary for world peace since the age of 19. She is a much sought-after public speaker and a broadcaster on worldwide scale. She is an eloquent speaker who captivates her audience not just with her wisdom, but with a depth of spirituality. She also has, you will notice, a very, very soothing voice. She has recorded hundreds of guided meditation commentaries and has written several inspiring books on spirituality in daily life. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together in inviting Sister Jayanti.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, it's a pleasure to be here with you today, and I'd like to begin with a greeting of peace, Om Shanti. It's a beautiful reminder that our original state of the inner being is that of peace. I especially want to thank the young children and the teachers of the school who gave us this beautiful demonstration of the whole story of not just Mahatma Gandhi, but the whole movement for independence. And in fact, it was not just in Bharat, in India, but it led to a whole movement worldwide that actually led to the dissolution of the British Empire. So it's quite amazing what one individual is capable of doing. And it's a very powerful and beautiful reminder to each and every one of us here of how we can be effective and how we can initiate change in the things that we believe in passionately. And today, if we believe in peace, if we believe in justice and equality and truth, then yes, surely all of us together with that power of belief and power of action can definitely make a difference and bring about a change in this world. I think one of the main things that happens in this world is that we believe that, well, things are so bad, things are so difficult, things are so challenging, what can we do about it? And we feel a little helpless. But in fact, every single individual has an impact on many, many others. On our immediate family, definitely, but also within our circle of friends. And whatever impact we have on those, that reaches out and impacts others too. I'd like to share a little story, a real story. Some time ago at Harvard University, in the summer, they ran a series of workshops. And in one of their workshops, they were looking at the whole subject of kindness. And what was interesting was that they had tables of 6, and people came together. And what they were doing was building cities. And they were given, each individual was given a specific amount to contribute towards the creation of a city. And there was also a community chest, and they could contribute whatever it is they wished to that community chest. And that would help the city, of course. And so many round tables, each doing this. And one of them was an actor, and he had been given a mission, because what they found was that generally it would be 10% that each person was contributing to the community chest. This actor was told, contribute 20%. And this is exactly what he did. He contributed 20%, and people around the table noticed it. And they went on to other tables, and the people who had been on this table had seen the 20% contribution. And so they were inspired to do the same. And so they made on each table 20% contribution and another 5. The others in the circle also were inspired. They went to the next table, and those people did the same. And the calculation was that one person's act of kindness was able to impact 125 others. And so this definitely gives us a huge amount of hope for the future. And if I see all of you here, each one powerful individuals, and each one with your own circle, whatever it is you do as an act of kindness is going to impact at least 125 others, if not many, many more. And so definitely when they say that the future is in our hands, it is what we choose to make it. We don't have to accept injustice and violence and aggression. We can make a difference, and each one of us has that inner power and capacity to be able to do this. And so I know that the vision that we have of the future is a vision of a better world. And I think that's why we're inspired by all the things that the Mahatma did. Because here's one individual who made a huge difference. And so can we, at this moment, together, create a vision of a better world. And they say that when a person has a vision, but they also have the values to match that vision, then the combination of vision and values translated into action can definitely bring about huge change. So I see tonight as being a message of hope for the future, a message that together we can make a difference and create a world in which there is peace once more. We remember the Mahatma as the one who reminded us of one of the pillars of Bharat. I use the word Bharat, which is the original name for India. And so one of the pillars of that civilization, very ancient civilization, was actually ahimsa, and it's usually translated as non-violence, and that's fine, it's accurate. But on another level, ahimsa actually means do no harm. And you can see how that really broadens up the scope of ahimsa. It's not just acts of violence or verbal violence, it's not even violence or aggression in the mind or hearts of people, but it's that reminder that we have to live and let live, or even take it a step further, as we are given in all the scriptures the instruction to love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. There's a very interesting question that arises here. Although we have all these ancient teachings in all our civilizations and cultures, how come we haven't been able to follow this? And violence is not just in the 21st century. Violence has been around for certainly a few centuries, or even I would say a few millennia. And we've had these teachings for a few millennia. So the teachings tell us one thing, but human activity goes off in a different direction. But there has to come a moment in which we make a choice. And we try and understand, well, why is it that there is this controversy in which our hearts and conscience tell us one thing, but our behavior takes us in a different direction? And one of the things I've understood from spiritual teachings, and when I say spiritual teachings, I mean that at the heart of every tradition, every faith, there is spirituality. I'll share an image that I always hold dear in my heart, and it's the image of a bicycle wheel. And I came across this image when in 1983, we had 1993, I think. It was the first time after 100 years that there was an international gathering of all faiths. The World Parliament of Religions met together after 100 years. So that was 1893 in Chicago, where Swami Vivekananda first met the West and the first met Swamiji. And 100 years later, we were in Chicago again at this particular event. And I heard of this image at that time, and it stayed in my heart. And the image goes, if you stand on this side of the bicycle wheel, and I stand on the other side, we look across the chasm and we see how much divides us. Maybe it's different clothes, maybe it's different language, different scriptures, different food, different culture, different color, different, everything is different. And we wonder, how can we cross this divide? But if you go on an inner journey within your tradition, and I go on an inner journey within my tradition, we meet at the center point. And at the center point, there are certain things that we share. We share the same spiritual values, which get translated into human values. We also share the same mystical experiences of the divine. If you were to read the Sufi poets, the mystics of Christianity, and the yogis of Bharat, you would find them talking about this mystical experience of the divine in very similar language. And I would be very comfortable with any text that would be speaking of these things. And so at the heart of every tradition, there are values. There are values, there is spirituality, there's the mystical experience of the divine. And this is what connects us when we come to the path of spirituality. Then whatever differences there may be get left behind because they're very external. But the inner experience is very much unifying. And within that, when we talk about love, loving my neighbor. How can I love my neighbor? Well, the message is, love your neighbor as you would love yourself. So that brings me to a question. Have I learned to love myself? And that's nothing to do with ego, but rather it's a deep understanding of my own spiritual identity, not my physical persona, but the identity of the inner being, the being that is not visible and yet is absolutely real. My thoughts are real. It's not just imagination, but it's the reality of my experience, my feelings, my memories, my conscience, my understanding, my values, my personality. when you see the external form, you don't see any of these things. But as the person moves into action and interaction, you begin to understand all of these things that define the individuality of that person. And so all of this is actually not visible to the physical eyes, but it's something that we perceive and appreciate and understand. And it's on the basis of that that we connect and create relationships. And so when I get to know myself, when I go deep within myself, and to be able to do this, I need one thing as the foremost step. And that is, I need to make time for myself. And according to the state of the world today, time is the most precious commodity that we have. They say time is money. Well, can I make time for myself? Do I value myself to that extent that I'm able to give time to get to know myself? And when I can do this, then I'm able to get to know my own inner core values and connect with those. One of the big problems of today's world is lack of identity or confusion about identity. And don't worry about the child and the noises of a child. They're part of life, and that's fine, it's okay. So I see that a few people are getting a little bit distracted, but it's okay. Let the child do what it pleases, and we focus on what we need to do. Is that okay? And so what I need to do is to make time for myself. And when I can do this, then I start knowing myself. And when I get to know myself, I see both sides. I see the good, and I see the things that are not so good that I need to change. But it means that I'm now beginning to be in touch with my inner identity, which doesn't depend on anything external. So far, our position in life, the possessions we have, all the externals are the things that have determined identity. But of course, all of these things change. Today I have a position, tomorrow maybe I don't. Today I have possessions, and who knows what the future holds and what will come. And so maybe I won't have those either. And so you can see how I moved to a different country, there's a different culture, and of course there's quite a big global mix that happens at current times. And so within all of that, we see that we are very insecure in terms of identity. And yet when I go on that inner journey, I discover who I truly am. And when I connect with my original core values, which are the same for every human being, doesn't matter where you're born, doesn't matter what position you have, but the core values of every human soul are those of goodness. Do you believe me? Who believes me? Some of you believe me. Well, I want you to reflect on it. People who believe usually see that. Thank you. Is this better now? Is it okay? Can you hear me clearly now? It's better. Is this better? I'm not sure that it is. It's better? Okay, thank you. So, my question, do I believe that the original quality of every human being is that of goodness? When we think about creator and creation, most traditions would say that we have been created in the image of the Creator. And the Creator is the being of total goodness. And so the creation, surely, having been created in that same image, is also a being of total goodness. And then, yes, through our journey in life, just as a child starts the day bright and sparkling, very clean, and by the end of the day, there's a bit of dust that's accumulated, not just on the clothes, but the hands, the feet, the face, everywhere. Same thing, we start our journey with that total goodness of purity, peace, love, joy, truth. These are the essence of the human spirit when we begin our journey. And then through our journey in life, other things happen and they change this, or rather they cover this inner goodness that is the starting point. And so here we are at this moment of time when it feels that peace has been completely forgotten, where love has become a name for commercialism and exchange rather than business, rather than actual giving of the spirit. Anger seems to be quite acceptable, and with those in power, very difficult to know what is true and what is not true. At the point that we are at now, I think you would agree with all of these things. 5 years ago, things were a bit better. Maybe 10 years ago, they were a little bit better. But today, I think we see this as a reality. But yet, although all these things are happening, deep down within, there's a thirst for peace. There's a desire for altruistic love. And then from time to time, as happened during the pandemic, we get to see a glimpse of another aspect of the human spirit. And on the one side, we saw huge grief and bereavement and much suffering. From the other side, we had the heroes, not just in the front line, the medics and the police and so on, but we also had householders, people at home, seeing that they wanted to help their neighbors who needed help. And so we saw this upsurge of compassion and love. And so that was a beautiful experience. And then I don't know to what extent it's continued after the pandemic, but certainly through the pandemic you saw the grief, but you also saw people wanting to serve and give help and support to those in need. And so from time to time we catch a glimpse of this goodness of the human spirit, the faith, the courage, the strength, and a question: is it possible for us to hold on to those original qualities that are there within the human spirit and to emerge them and express them more and more so that they become a natural way of life? I believe this is possible. I really do. I'll give you a simple example. If there's water, the original state of water is cool. You apply heat, and the water gets so hot it can even scald you. Remove the heat, and it'll revert back to its natural state. And so we use this word dharma in Hindi. Dharma is not just religion, it is that, but it's also the original state of being, the way of life. And so when we talk about peace, and I say Om Shanti is the actual dharma. The scripture of India describes the dharma, the religion of the soul. You'll be surprised. how does it define the original religion of the soul? It defines it as peace. That's it. That is my original religion. And then, peace is also a way of life. Peace is also my natural state of being. And so when I come back to that original awareness and start experiencing peace, a door begins to open inside. And I'm able to access the original treasures that are there, being carried in the soul. That of love, that of joy, that of truth, that of purity. These are the essence of the human spirit. And as I say, these qualities are universal. Everybody has these. But we've forgotten. And so from time to time we need reminders about this. And when we emerge that experience of inner peace by giving time to ourselves, we also begin the journey of accepting the self, of respecting the self, and even a step further, of actually beginning to love the self. And when I can start loving myself, then I can think about loving my neighbor. And my neighbor means not just next door, but the whole human family. And so today I'm here, tomorrow I'm there, but my family is universal, and you are all my neighbors. But the journey begins with whatever's going inside. And that is what spirituality teaches us. Everything begins within. Aggression outside doesn't happen just like that. You know, the UNESCO Charter reminds us that wars begin in the minds of men, and the defenses of peace have to be created therein. And so things start in the human consciousness, in the human mind, and then get expressed outside. And so peace definitely begins within. And this mantra of Mahatma Gandhi, ahimsa, do no harm. How can I reach that state where I know what I need to do for myself so that I don't cause myself harm? We know the diet we should have. We know the exercise we need. We know the rest the body needs. And yet, basic things in terms of physical health, we know all of that. There's huge research that's been done about all this. And everybody understands and accepts that this is true. And then the process of actually beginning to do this as a reality in my life. Am I making sure that I do no harm to my own physical chariot, this very, very precious vehicle that I've been blessed with, through which I can do so much good if I choose to. But first, starting here, do no harm. Do no harm to my mind. I know what is of benefit to my mind. I'm sure all of you do also. You know what is sacred, what is uplifting, what is positive, what helps you feel better and uplifted. You also know what it is that pulls you down. Right? I think everybody knows. You know that negative stuff is going to pull you down, whether it's books, whether it's watching things on television, or whether it's your mobile phones. We have access to everything in the world today, but we also have the capacity to choose, and we don't always use that capacity of discernment to choose what is going to be of value and of help to the self. And so can I change things around so that now I make the choices that are good for the soul, that are good for the body? Then I can start making choices on what is going to be of benefit to others around me, so that there is no harm, but rather there's benefit being shared at all times, so that if I spend a few minutes with another individual, there's benefit. I learn something, they learn something. If I spend more time, there's going to be more benefit. But on all levels, just simply to make sure that do no harm is the formula that I use in my life, because that is the foundation to be able to come to a peaceful world. No harm to the self, to others, but also no harm to any form of life. Non-violence, true non-violence takes on all forms of life, but also non-violence and ahimsa are not harming the earth that supports us. And so you can see that the reason that we've come to the condition of the world we have today is because we've forgotten about these basic instructions of spirituality, of loving the self, loving others, but also the basic principle of peace, which is the absolute opposite of aggression and violence. And so today, a lovely reminder of what it is we need to do for ourselves. Just think about how, where there's insecurity because I don't know that which is stable and immovable within myself, I'm focused on externals, and externals will always change, which is the reality of life. But the internal, that inner being, the soul, that is the anchor for my life, to come back to that awareness and hold on to those original qualities. When I have that, then I can approach other people without any fear, because I know that there is original goodness in each one. When there's fear, where does it spring from? It springs from ignorance. I don't know the other. And because I don't know, my insecurity begins to express itself. And the fear is what leads to either separation and distance or actual conflict and violence. And so we've tried to find many answers outside, but according to destiny, things have got worse and worse. Instead of thinking of the history of the world in a linear form, starting from here and finishing there, maybe it would help us to see a cycle. And many traditions in the East will always think about cyclical time rather than linear time. And when you think about cyclical time, what you're aware of is that, yes, there's been a dark patch, but beyond that, there's something beautiful and good. After the night, it's absolutely normal that the day should come. It's not that things end and collapse in darkness. After the night, there will be the day. And so there is a day waiting ahead, but it means that we have to rediscover our own original qualities and start using them in our life. And when we start using those qualities, then together we are moving towards the creation of a better world. And so I see how we have the information, we have the tools to be able to apply all of this, and what we need to do is to support each other on this journey of awakening consciousness, the journey of, again, reminding ourselves and each other of what are the essentials of spirituality and life itself, so that then together we can do something for each other, but also the world at large. It's very interesting to see how things have started moving in a different direction. Yes, we see all the negativity, but I'm seeing how these words such as vision and values have come back again into our language. A little while ago, nobody would have talked about vision, but now very often people talk about vision. Values, the word values seem to have disappeared, But again, we now talk about core human values in a very natural way. And so I think, yes, there comes a moment in human history when things transform and things move forward. I believe that this is that time, this is that moment of transition when we ourselves can bring about positive change in our lives, and through that be an example and inspiration for others around us too. Very often in the climate change conferences, they talk about transformation. And of course, we have all the facts, we have all the information, but again, we're not applying it in a practical way. And so we are seeing things happen drastically, creating a huge amount of not just discomfort, but actual state of desperation for many people around us. And yet, when people understand that climate change has been created by human behavior, then the question comes, can we transform? And yes, I believe we can. But it takes a lot of inner power. It takes courage, it takes compassion, and it takes care to be able to change. And the power for all of this comes from the source, from the divine, the creator. And when we are able to draw that power within ourselves through silence, through meditation, we can make a difference to ourselves. And that becomes something that's really interesting for others to perceive. What happened? How have you changed? Why have you changed? What made you change? And so that starts the process of transformation in others around us also. So I'd like us to share time together in silence and meditation. And many of you I know are experienced meditators, but I'm sure that there are some who are not. So what I suggest is that I'll share a few thoughts as I reflect and meditate, and invite you to join me and experience the same. No music, just silence. Sitting quietly, I reflect on the things I've been hearing about, and I go within. I watch my thoughts. I see many thoughts in many directions. But as I observe my thoughts, the speed of my thoughts slows down. And now I can see each thought clearly, and I can choose which thought to pursue. I choose the thought of peace. I hold peace in my mind, and I begin to feel peace within. And I touch that sacred space within where peace resides. And in this awareness of peace, I feel the presence of the Creator, the source of light, of love, of peace. The power of divine light helps me understand truth, and reality. The power of divine love begins the process of being able to love myself. And as truth touches the soul, I see quite clearly what it is that led me away from peace and truth. I let go of things that are not useful. I hold on to this awareness of the inner being. This is the true state of peace that I had wanted. This is the door opening for compassion and care. I have the courage to know that this is what I will do in my life. I will move forward on this inner journey. I come back to the awareness of the present moment, here and now. But I hold this awareness of who I truly am and my connection with the divine. Thank you for joining me in this experiment. As you see, it's very simple, very easy. Nothing difficult. Just simply reminding myself and emerging those original qualities of goodness within the self. I would suggest that try this even for a few minutes at the start of the day, and this will impact whatever else happens through the rest of the day. Thank you for your attention, and congratulations to each one of you for being here tonight, and also my thanks to the Embassy of India and the Raj Yoga Center here in Muscat for arranging this and bringing us together. Thank you. Om Shanti.
إن التأمل والتركيز هما الطريق الصحيح لحياة الصفاء، وتعاسة الإنسان تكمن في عدم قدرته على التأمل والسكون. فشكرا للأخت جيانتي، شكرا على هذا التأمل الجميل. أما الآن نترككم مع كلمة شكر من الأخت جياتري لكلمة شكر لضيوفها الكرام.
Thank you very much, Sister Jayanti, for those words of wisdom and for letting us understand the importance of self-compassion and how we can access it. I would like to now request Sister Gayatri, the Director, Raj Yoga Center for Self-Development, Muscat, to give her word of thanks.
Embassy of India, I would like to thank each and everyone present over here. In his busy schedule, His Excellency Amit Narang, he's joined us, and for some reason he has to leave, so he joined us our program. I would like to thank Ambassador and also the members from the embassy who joined today for this program. And along with that, we have dignitaries, ambassadors from Singapore and Romania also, they joined us. So thank you for joining His Excellencies for this program. And along with that, I would like to thank Sister Jayanti, all the way she traveled down here and made this program so gracious and enriched us. Because if anything comes upon in front of us, we just keep looking at this in different ways, and we won't find any solution, worrying about it, wondering about it. So she took us deep into the essence of those things. So because it will be some simple point which we are not able to address that. So in that way, she took us into that experience also. Thank you very much, Sister Jayanti, for joining us. And then, and we have Sister Jyoti, who also extended her blessings for the day. And she joined us from Dubai. I would like to thank Sister Jyoti also for joining for the program. And along with that, from the Indian Social Club, they also joined us and made this program successful. Thank you very much for joining us today. And more than all of this, we saw such a wonderful performance from the school children. Even though they were having exams, they were able to make it out and join us today. So they're all children from Indian School Muscat. So it was really very good, like intro of Mahatma Gandhi ji. We would like to thank Indian School Muscat also. And along with that, I would like to thank our like coordinators, MCs of the day, Prakash and Sada, who made this event. And along with that, I would like to thank the wonderful audience during the working day that you all made it out. Thank you very much for joining us. At this moment, I would like to share about the Raj Yoga Center for Self-Development. So this is the 25th year of the services in Oman. So a new branch has been started in Al Khair. So we have two centers, one in Ruvi and another one is in Al Khair. So I extend this opportunity to welcome you all to join us for the courses and then the meditation sessions. All the information you will be getting in the reception desk. Thank you, sir, and thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great evening.